Christ, that's hot. How's it going, my G's? Hope everyone's doing well. I thought I'd just make a little short video today on a little Neurofunk stab that I've designed for you guys in Vital, and it's a free preset, and you can feel free to download it below or recreate it yourself, which I would encourage. And there's a few techniques that I'm going to go over, which I think are a nice, easy enough to follow amount that kind of just done correctly together, just work quite nicely. So I'm going to play you in a second. And it's called the BBC bass because I just got my first song played on BBC Radio, which is absolutely wicked. It's nice to get a little bit of recognition after making music for so long and constantly trying to improve, one song after another. And yeah, massive shout out to Harriet Robinson from BBC for picking it up, and big shout out to my collab partner Reebs for really putting in a lot of work to promote the song as well. I was really excited when I got the news that they'd been played on the radio show last night at like 11 p.m. or something, and then I couldn't really sleep for a few hours, so I'm a little bit tired today, but that's what the coffee's for anyway. Really happy to have all you guys like a part of the journey, so yeah, it's just really, really sweet. So anyway, I've made this little celebratory bass. Let's have a little listen. Pretty nasty, and knocked it up pretty quickly, to be fair. And yeah, let's talk about some of the techniques. So basically, right, it's in E. Okay, I'm going to turn off the post-processing because I did do a little bit there. Let's turn off the effects because we've got quite a few on there just to enhance the sound. But the main part of the sound is going to come from the detuning of the oscillators and the comb filter again. So start off with a saw wave. Yeah, I'm going to turn the level down, add in a sine wave, and we're going to FM from oscillator 1. Okay. So saw wave going into sine wave, and the saw is 2 octaves higher. Got the tuning on 33 to provide the movement. Phase and all the randomization is turned off. The waveform's at 180, so it starts in the middle. And then we go straight over to another sine wave. And I don't usually do a one at 4 semitones up, but it seems to just sound quite nice. So added in another sine wave at 4. And then this one, I FM'd it also from oscillator 2. And at that point, I had a really nice texture already, and I was really happy with that. So then what I proceeded to do was to add in some natural sound because it's a little bit too synthetic in the high end still. So we're going to blend in a bit of this white noise, the Bart, and it's quite soft in the high end, but we're going to take out all the low end on the sample section here on this filter. I just boosted the resonance a bit to just give a little bit of character in this kind of treble area here. But then what we do, to improve the sound even further, I've comb filtered the whole lot of oscillator 1, 2 and 3. And then this is actually where it's quite interesting, something I haven't really done before. So pay attention. It's the low, high flange minus, which I think is my favourite comb filter mode. Turn up the resonance. I've turned it all the way to the left. And for the frequency, I've specifically selected the exact frequency, which is where the E sits, because I'm playing at E. So the fundamental frequency of an E is 40 something, 41, yeah, sort of 41.2 or something like that. Don't have to be so exact, but yeah, I typed in 41.2, and so that's where it sort of kicks off from. And I've modulated the cut on the LFO1 here, and what the cut does is basically, if I just bypass this, it sort of just determines how the comb filters sort of spread with the sort of emphasis to the low end or the mid range or the high end. So the high end, it's a little bit synthetic. Mid range, nice and powerful there. And then obviously without it, we're just left with the low end essentially. So if I reactivate this, And what I've done is I've modulated this on the LFO, so it's almost like opening up the filter, but it's not moving the cutoff, it's just opening up the spread of the comb filter. So yeah, really like that. And then you can hear the sound is actually quite stereoed already, even though it's all in mono, and that's because of this little button here. So for the comb filter, and a couple of other effects that are going to come in later as well, we're going to modulate them all on the LFO with the stereo enabled, so it's going to do them all differently. You know, it does the left and the right modulation at slightly different times to create the stereo image. So you can see this little red line where it's red. That's the right, I think it's the right one, or the left one. It's moving independently from each other, the left and right, so that's what's creating the stereo effect. Simple vital trick, but it just doesn't always work on every single bass or sound, but on this one it just did, just because it unlocked a more powerful, warm, wider low end to this sound, and that's what I sort of always aim for. And so it doesn't always work, but in this case it just did, so I thought, yeah, that's great, finally it works on something. But what we're going to have to do is make sure we take out the side information afterwards, because it's going to be quite a lot of side information in the low end now. But that's okay while we're still designing the sound. And yeah, so enhancing it now. Distortion, I've modulated this on the LFO as well to sort of give a bit of dynamic drive into our shape. So that's where it gets quite sort of tonal, and yeah, the character sort of comes out with this little growl there. Then the chorus, it's just left on the default settings, and I've just turned the mix down just to add a little bit of extra kind of side parting to the sound. I'll turn it down a little bit for you guys there because it was a little bit too extreme. Compressor, I've turned up the attack and the release almost all the way up, and then just mixed a bit of this in. A bit of crunchiness. Then we've got a filter, phaser positive filter, and again I've mixed this one in. This makes it a bit more neuro in a way, sort of targeting that mid-range sweeping. So going back down to 0 and then having this on, having the mix and the cutoff also on my LFO. So that's quite interesting. And as you can see, what I've done with the LFO is it's not just an up and down normal triangle. I've drawn in these 2 extra points halfway, and then I've shaped between them just so I have a bit more control of the actual exact speed and therefore the actual character of the overall sound. Imagine that, you know, this is the overall movement of the wub wub wub, but how it does it exactly at what speed is going to determine the more specific sound design character of it. So I could go even more in depth and, you know, draw another point in maybe and do something like a bit wacky, and that would give a bit more detail to it. So let's do that. Let's draw another one in here as well. Just why not? It's just adding extra detail. So a little bit nicer now. I'm going to upload this final version for you once I've finished this recording. Next, touch of reverb, just to finish it off really. And then we've done a little bit in the post-processing. So let's listen without the processing. And then with. So basically, as you can hear, I've just introduced a lot of sort of noise to the sound, and something I've used a lot before, the ring mod bandpass noise from Kilohertz. Mix turn up to 66%, and yeah, the frequency quite high, the bias quite high, rectify not all the way up, but quite up. And then, like I said, I added a mid-side EQ to take out that low end, because without it, it's quite rumbly in the stereo. And with it, just tighten up the overall sound a little bit more. So that's basically it for the BBC bass, which doesn't really have anything to do with BBC. It's just, it happens to be on the day where I'm sort of celebrating a little bit that I got played on BBC. So yeah, that's the only reason why I've named it that. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really appreciate that. And yeah, make sure you just don't do anything that I wouldn't.